Hello and welcome to The Broken Elevator, where we pitch the films Hollywood's too scared to make. I'm Wumzum, and this week, Nick is pitching
Van Helsing 2, Dweller in the Dark. I love that film so much. So much.
A lot of love for Van Helsing.
Oh man, yeah. Even I think even before we heard that, we've got a guest. Yay! Even before you were gonna come on the show, and I was actually thinking about the film recently, just because I was like, what franchise can Hugh Jackman do now? X-Men's over. What should he do now?
No more Wolverine.
Yeah.
Hold on, you guys. Hold on. X-Men's over. As in, Logan's his last film. Did you guys just spoil it for me?
He said it would be his last.
Yeah.
He said.
okay.
He said this is the last one. Yeah.
Because he's gone off into the sunset to live his life away from the X-Men.
He doesn't have to eat protein shakes and chicken all the time.
Yeah, because he's been buff for a couple of years now.
He looks good for his age, man. He's like holding it down. It's crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, like, how was it when you look back at Van Helsing and you see Logan and you just feel like, is that the same guy? Like,
He looks so young in his terrible wig. It's actually quite nice for me, guys, because as I mentioned to you before we went live, I was on the Hoxton radio show doing a defense of Van Helsing not too long ago. And for any of you guys who'd actually listened to it, it was a bit frosty. They were not big fans of Van Helsing. And I was just like, well, I think I put up a decent defense, but it's nice to meet people who are just like, yeah, no, it's good fun. It's very silly. It's the same director who directed the Mummy movies, wrote and directed the Mummy movies.
Yeah, you can tell.
You can see his fingerprints all over it. It's just, he loves his big actiony set pieces with classic monster movie kind of stuff.
you see, when films do that, you should see that they're doing it on purpose. Like, it didn't look like, let's make this look cool, so we'll have this kind of shot. No, it looked like, no, we are, gonna make this dramatic, and we're going to make you really feel like Dracula is totally flamboyant. Like, like, we want to create this kind of world where everything happens, perfect frames like a comic. Like, I think it was all done on purpose. I don't think you could come out of that film and think, it was a bit cheesy. It was supposed to be that way.
It's very much. There's their tongue is so far in their cheek. Like, Richard Roxburgh's Dracula is having the time of his life, but just acting as hard as he can, just having a great time.
It gives you such room for creativity. I was just thinking of all the different angles Dracula's just standing in, for shots and stuff like that. One minute he's sideways, upside down.
Just casually strolling onto the ceiling.
Yeah,
to yell at his wives, and you're like, Dracula, calm down. He's like, oh,
I am calm.
And it gives you so much opportunity for really jokes, sort of metaphoric, but also hilarious sort of speech and things to say. I don't know. I think it did quite well. I obviously we watched it recently and forgot how freaking long it was, and I can see why I could never watch it all the way through when I was younger, because mate, that's a film that you see, you turn it on, you start getting hungry, you go out, you go out to play, you come back, the film's still playing.
I saw it in the cinema.
Yeah.
I remember seeing it in the cinema, and I enjoyed it for what it was.
Yeah.
A just cheesy sort of modern take on some kind of Indiana Jones. It was like a period piece Indiana Jones.
Pulpy. That sort of, everything's slightly larger than life, everything's sort of just really explosive and powerful, and you have all these kind of things. There are so many lines that have stuck in my head from this film for the longest time, I can quote so many of Dracula's lines from memory, which I'm not going to do because I don't think we don't need any more dodgy Transylvanian accents at this moment.
One thing that kind of gets me, right, as well, I mean, even from a visual standpoint, obviously the colours are very muted. Mm-hmm. It starts off black and white, and you just find it naturally proceeds to colour, kind of just in the first kind of arc, you're just like, oh, snap, this isn't going to be a completely black and white film, but it felt like it was going to be.
Yeah.
I don't know, the transitions work really, really well. Also, like, Van Helsing's like Batman and James Bond all rolled into one. Like, what's up with that?
He's got gadgets. He's got to fight all of the evil as part of the secret order of holy knights that have defended humanity for thousands of years.
It was literally like when Bond goes into is it MI5?
MI5, yeah.
MI5, and he presses a button and all these different gadgets come up, you know, and he's got, what's her name? Moneypenny, and the other one, what's her name? No! What's her name? She's like quit now. She's no longer doing it.
Oh, what, Judi Dench is M?
Judi Dench, yes.
M.
It was like that in the first section, but in like what in the
Vatican.
Yeah, in the Vatican, it was jokes, man.
It's always great seeing around watching you guys watch the film again. When they got to that scene where it opens up into like the secret underground lab, where you've got all the people from all the different religious and ethnic backgrounds. You kind of have this face like, wait, hold on, what?
And they kind of got away with a couple of things that I don't think they could get away with nowadays, to be honest.
Different times, man. 2006, a different era, certainly.
I think it's great because also, you know, you got Frankenstein in there, you got werewolves in there, you got Dracula in there, Dracula's wives.
I guess they were trying to start this dark universe a few decades earlier than planned.
Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde.
Yeah.
He shows up at the beginning, gets killed. You're like, okay.
Yeah, it's
voiced by Robbie Coltrane.
Yeah.
Coltrane?
Robbie Coltrane.
What's he in?
He's Hagrid.
Oh my days, really?
Yeah.
I mean, it all works together, you know, Hollywood, they're all friends with each other, they make these things happen.
Although one thing I am starting to think is that this film could technically be connected to the new Mummy film.
Why must... Oh...
Hear me out, okay? Alright, so the recent Mummy film with Tom Cruise, there is a bit which includes the Book of the Dead.
It does, for no reason. For no reason.
Which seems to suggest that this Mummy film is connected to the Brendan Fraser Mummy film.
Yep.
Directed by Stephen Sommers, who also directed Van Helsing, who also directed G.I. Joe, which has a cameo by Brendan Fraser, who states...
He's a sergeant!
...that he is the grandson of his character from The Mummy.
Oh my god.
What I'm trying to say is that Van Helsing and G.I. Joe are in the same universe.
Oh, wow. Oh.
Wow. maybe at the end of Nick's film, we find out that, you know, Van Helsing, you know, organizes a special training camp where, where, you know, he's defending humanity by, you know, passing along this ancient kind of, I don't know.
So Van Helsing starts G.I. Joe.
Basically. Oh, come on!
Oh, you're making me want to consider rewrites. I'm yeah? I have gone in a different direction for my pitch.
Okay. Okay.
I think I should preface the pitch overall just with a little bit of background to like what my process was.
Yeah.
Because one of the difficult things about trying to do a sequel to Van Helsing is that they do basically everything in classic monster movies.
Yeah.
They do them. You know, you've got your Draculas, you've got your werewolves, you've got your Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde, you've got your Frankenstein monster. The Mummy films already exist. So I started off by just making a list of like, okay, what do they not do? And I went through a whole bunch of things, and I had a good think, and I came up with some interesting ideas. Now, here's the question to you, gentlemen. There is essentially a little bit of a twist in this movie. Would you prefer I tell you what the twist is going to be, or do you want me to try and see if you can figure it out as we go along?
Oh, I want to figure it out.
See, now... I mean, we could try to, but in my mind, I just...
Okay, how about this? I turn your mics down. You can whisper it to Wumi, and I will not hear what it is. So at least you will know, and I will not know.
See, but I want to watch the rest of it now.
Wait, is it the twist in
my movie?
Yeah. Oh, in your movie.
In the pitch that I'm about to do, there is a twist.
I think we should both try and guess it.
Try and figure it out?
I think we should both try.
I think it's not a tremendously difficult twist to figure out, but I'm going to do some things.
Okay.
Thinking caps on, gentlemen.
Okay.
Right, so Van Helsing, the original movie, is a sort of big genre love letter. It's a sort of action thing. So I'm like, I want to continue those traditions. And I tried to think of what kind of films that I like that can sort of work well being adapted to having different conventions of other genres in there. And the thing I kind of ended up settling on is that one of the things I like in the original Van Helsing is that he's got a decent supporting cast, but they don't really get like enough to sort of do on their own. There's like whole sequences in the third act of the film where like Cog and Anna are like running around trying to get the cure for werewolf stuff, and you know they're running around Dracula's castle, and they've got all these little bits and pieces going on, but they never really get to drive the narrative in the same way that Van Helsing does. So I'm like, in a sense, I want to take this sequel, because we know who Van Helsing is now, we know what his deal is. I want to sort of explore more of the world around him, maybe explore more of the Order of Holy Knights, that kind of thing. So, ostensibly, this is going to be kind of like a buddy cop movie. Is the kind of thing I'm going for.
Tam likes those.
I see a little nod and a smile.
I'm a big fan of buddy cop. Yeah.
Okay, well, let's hope I do well. So, I'm going to try and keep to time, but do feel free to give me a hand gesture if you feel like I'm getting a little out of control. We open on a black screen. We've got mournful organ music, the kind of thing you'd have like a dirge for a funeral. And as it slowly rises in tempo, you get Hugh Jackman, it's Van Helsing, sounding older, sounding more haggard, he's seen a bit of life.
Logan.
Yeah, doing a little voiceover, that kind of thing, being like, how long have I been fighting? You cut to some boots running down a rain-soaked street. How long have I stood alone against the tide of the darkness? We see Van Helsing from the rear from a low angle as he's running down an alleyway. Above him, we can see a lightning strike, and we see it's a more modern skyline. He is in New York. It is the 1950s. So skyline's not as populated as it could be, but it's still very busy. So,
are we going to get King Kong come?
I wish. How much longer can I do this? We have a tight shot of Van Helsing's face as he's running, teeth gritting. We can see that he's aged. Now, one of the small spoiler, Van Helsing, as you actually heard in the part of the movie that you saw, he is immortal. He says he remembers being at Rome back in 73 AD. He doesn't age, but we can see now that he has. He's got a little bit of a haggard beard, and we also see that on his right cheek there's this huge grisly scar, like about as thick as a finger. Pitch black, like with black veins coming off on it. That's real bad. As the camera pans up, we see behind him, there's this huge werewolf chasing him. But this werewolf looks different to the werewolves that we're familiar with. It's bulkier, but its form is strange. It keeps twisting and changing, and it's got teeth growing out where there shouldn't be teeth. There are eyes sprouting. Its transformation has gone out of control. Van Helsing reaches into his coat, pulls out this enormous Hellboy-style giant revolver, spins around, blasts it. Massive bullet goes into it, it crumbles back. So long I've stood against the darkness. How much longer? You see him get his gloves. He starts up his buzzsaw blades with a whine as the music builds to a crescendo. We smash cut to the title card. Van Helsing 2. The Dweller in the Dark. So, I'll say that's the most cohesive and put together part of the pitch. I've had that bit the longest. I'm like, all right. So
my openings are always epic, and then it just goes down.
So we cut to the back room of a church. It's like we hold this shot fairly like static. It's a kind of still camera. Van Helsing stumbles in. He's like covered in rainwater, covered in blood. And he's just, like, tired. He limps over to a small sink that's in the room, pulls off his iconic hat, throws it down the bed, starts stripping off his weapon belts, take off his big coat, gets shirtless, and we can sort of get a look at the man now. He's covered in scars. Like, since the last film, he's clearly been in the wars. He's not, like, healing properly. He's just, like, he's taken some hits. He's clearly seen a lot in his life. Goes over to the sink, starts washing the blood off his face. He sort of looks at the big black scar that's on his face. For an instant, we see in the mirror, like, the sort of twisted face of this morphing werewolf, like, howling at him. He doesn't even blink. He doesn't react. As Dracula said in the last movie, his heart rate... consistent. No fear in him. He washes his face off, dries off, he goes over to a phone. Picks up, dials a number. We hear, like, the small voice on the other end. He's just like, it's done. And they're all like, you did it? You killed the werewolf? He goes, yes, but something was different. Something strange. Something I've not felt... for many years. What was it, Van Helsing? A new kind of evil, the same that left its mark on me. Like, my God. Do you think it's him? I don't know. This werewolf was different. It was strange. It was out of control. I've killed it, but normally when I kill a werewolf, it returns to the form of the man that it was before. This was just a pile of fur and blood and muscle. I don't understand. What do you need us to do, Van Helsing? If you suspect that it's him, he's like, I don't know. I don't know for certain if it's him. But if it is, I'm going to need backup. Like, we'll get you what you need. What do you need? He said, this is moving outside my ability to track. I can feel evil, but I can't hone in on it properly. I need someone who's more of a detective. A spirit detective. You will have your backup. Rest, my son. God bless you. Phone goes dead. Van Helsing takes off a boot, pours out some water. It's been a very wet night. It's a little bit of light visual comedy, so we're not going too dark here. He collapses back onto the bed, falls asleep. We then have... Oh, crap, I realised I missed my opening credit sequence. So, damn it, rewind a little. Back to before the start of the church sequence. We have the title card, but then we also have this credit sequence. I don't know if you guys saw X-Men Apocalypse. You guys see that one?
Did you watch it?
Yeah.
You remember the credit sequence from that when it's like sort of moving through all these different tableaus of history?
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you see X-Men Origins?
Yes,
Wolverine one,
yes.
Yeah, and you know how that opening credit sequence has like Wolverine in like a bunch of different wars?
Yeah.
So I kind of want to combine the two. So for my opening credit sequence, you'd have a title card and then it would like move through all these different scenes of battle from ancient history. And at each one you would see Van Helsing, digitally altered to be young Van Helsing, just being instrumental at these different points. And as it moves forward in time, we go through the credits, and the final shot before we got to the church is you would see this dark figure reaching out a hand towards Van Helsing's face, and he's looking freaked out. So we have the church scene, he falls asleep. We have a brief dream sequence where we see a similar kind of setup. We have Van Helsing dreaming of these ancient wars, just a flurry of chaos and blades and guns and blood and monsters. It's building in intensity, and he's constantly having to fight, and he's being assaulted from all sides. And then he sees the dark figure once more, silhouetted against this blood-red moon. It once again reaches out its hand towards him, and he clutches at his face. He feels the scar. It starts to pulse. He's like, no. He wakes up. As he does so, he pulls his gun out from under his pillow, points at a figure who sat in his room. There is a woman sitting there, going through his notes. She just sort of turns and raises an eyebrow, says, wow, you look terrible, Van Helsing. He's like, you arrived quickly. She's like, well, when the Holy Order sends a call for me, with such urgency, when the great weapon Van Helsing of the church needs backup, I can't afford to exactly wait around. This is Genevieve Laveau. She is wearing practical gear. She's wearing sort of like kind of themed in black and purple. She's wearing the traditional headdress of a voodoo queen. I'm thinking she's going to be played by Gina Torres. That's kind of who I'm thinking of from Firefly, Zoe. Because I want to have her sort of to be... She's not younger than Van Helsing. She's been in the game a long time. She may look young, she's younger than him in the sense that he's thousands of years old, but she's very accomplished. She knows exactly what she's about. So Van Helsing lowers the gun. I'm going to have to go back to my notes because I'm getting away from what I know.
What? Hold on. She's like a voodoo
queen.
Voodoo queen. So she got like skulls in her, like in...
There's a small skull motif. The traditional thing is like this sort of head wrap thing. So I'm like quite tall, usually quite colourful, usually with flowers on it. I've always been very interested in like the iconography and mythology of voodoo, and I think that the way I wanted to take Van Helsing in this direction is like it's very steeped in Christian mythos, like and that's where all the sort of the classic monsters come from. So I thought let's diversify out a little. Let's get into more sort of like interesting pantheons that have weird and different rules that Van Helsing may not necessarily
understand.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
kind of reminds me of how like Superman. He's indestructible, but somebody comes along with magic and I can't do it! I can't do it!
Oh no! So Van Helsing's like, it's good to see you, Genevieve. It's been a long time. I think I'm close to something big. You're the best the Order has at tracking spirits. I need the best. And she's like, well, you've been doing this for centuries and you think it's big. What's going on? What do you think is happening? So Van Helsing pauses. He takes out his gun, like checks it, loads it. Sort of has a little auspicious look at the walls. He feels a bit kind of... I'm scared to say it, so he just goes, I think it's the Antichrist.
Oh, Snappy took it there.
So Genevieve, she takes out a pipe. She lights up, takes a deep breath of the smoke and breathes it out. As the smoke comes out of her mouth, it forms briefly into like the shape of skulls before dissipating into nothing. She's clearly magically inclined. She goes, that's pretty big. Are you sure? Van Helsing goes, I met him once. He left me with this. Gestures at the scar. He goes, this is why I'm look like this. She goes, like terrible? He's like, yes, terrible. I admit that I've seen better days. She goes, yeah, I remember last time I saw you, you were what, 20? You're looking about 50 now. It's bad, man. It's been rough. He's like, yeah, okay. Less of that.
It's working considering Hugh Jackman's old now, right?
That's what I want to accommodate. I'm like, how do you have an immortal character who's the actor has actually aged in real time? Aha!
You don't do what they did in Tron Legacy.
Antichrist.
The curse of the Antichrist.
You don't do what they did in Tron Legacy and just like digitally alter his face to make him look younger for the whole film.
Did you guys see Pirates of the Caribbean 5 with young Johnny Depp?
No.
It's really weird. His mouth doesn't really animate properly. It's very disturbing.
They're not going to get it right for another 20 years.
I mean, Ant-Man, I think, has done it the best so far. With a young Michael Douglas.
Oh, yeah, they do have young Michael Douglas in there, don't they? Well, that and the, the Star Wars movie, Rogue One. When they have young Princess Leia. Like, that was crazy. I mean, that shot's only like 3 seconds long, but they were just like, let's just get this perfect.
It's actually peak. I don't really know how they're going to do Star Wars without Princess... I mean, you can do it without Princess Leia, but like...
You mean General Leia?
General
Organa.
Oh, snap.
Yeah.
I don't know how they're going to do it. Of course they're going to do it. I just don't know how.
So, Van Helsing tells Genevieve, he's like, okay, so I encountered this thing. I don't know what it is, and I've seen a lot. I've been in this game for hundreds of years. Maybe you can shed some light. She's like, all right, cool. Let's go and sort this out. So they head back to the alleyway. He just dragged the body behind a dumpster, but when he gets there, there's some policemen there. And he's like, Van Helsing sighs, and he's like, it's always the way. I'm always hunted by men. She's like, well, okay, we need to get in there, so how do you want to do this? He goes, well, just follow my lead. And she's like, all right, cool. So they walk up to these two police officers. One of them turns around, he goes, sorry, sir, you can't. Van Helsing just hits him in the face immediately. And she's like, okay. The other guy pulls his gun, and then suddenly he twitches, the gun putting itself back, and then he sits down on the floor, and we see that Genevieve's just holding a little effigy of a person. Just making it sit down.
Oh, snap, little juju doll.
Yeah. So he sits on the floor, and Van Helsing's like, nice. And she's like, yeah. So they get up to the corpse of this werewolf thing. We get a good look at it in the daylight, and it's with this weird, misshapen, twisted werewolf. It's dead, it's got some big holes in it, and clear, like, marks where Van Helsing's gone at it with his buzzsaw blades. We then have, like, a little sort of CSI-style sequence where the two of them are looking over their body. Each of them are using, like, their different skills. Van Helsing's like, well, here's where I shot him. Here's where I broke his leg. Here's where I slashed him across the throat there. That didn't stop him. And she's all like, Does, like, little divination things. She's got, like, a little collection of artifacts that she's just using over them to sign, like...
And this woman works for the church?
Yep. It's all religions, all faiths. You got to get in with the dark stuff if you want to fight the monsters. So they realize that they can't really identify. They're both, this is super weird. This is whatever this is. It looks like a werewolf, but it's not. We need to figure something out. And Van Helsing goes, well, do you know what it is? You got any ideas? And he goes, I don't, but I know some people who do. You got a knife? He's like, yeah, sure, cool. Takes his knife, cuts into the thing, takes out its heart, puts it in a jar. Puts it back in a bag. They're like, all right, let's go.
Casually.
Yeah, as you do. You know, when you deal with voodoo, you're going to get into, like, body parts a lot, that kind of thing. So they go out and they get into Genevieve's jet black, cool-looking Cadillac. They drive off out the city. And then you see them travel by map.
Can it be like a casket? Like,
like
carrying...
like a hearse?
Yeah, like a hearse. Can it be like one of those? Like,
I want to evoke that kind of imagery for definite, yeah.
Yeah.
It's like sort of like, ooh, this lady is steeped in death. So we have a little travel by map sequence because you have some great sequences in the original of traveling by map where you see like, the little lines moving across. It's like dramatic music, that kind of thing. They head a little way upstate, out of town. They arrive at this secluded lake. Genevieve's like, all right, I'm going to meet my guy here, so just be cool, okay? And he's like, sure? Like, what do you mean? I'm Van Helsing, of course. Like, whatever it is, I can deal with it. She goes up to a specific tall tree that stands alone in a clearing. Cool. So, she takes out a variety of artifacts and stuff. She takes out a small mask, she takes out a knife, takes out a couple of feathers, takes out a small cigar. So she slashes her thumb, puts a little bit of blood onto the mask, lights the cigar. It gets a little bottle of rum, pours it over there as well. She focuses at the base of the tree. Then the world around the tree, using it as like an axis, kind of like a book, kind of just folds open into this strange world of twisting pathways that are like different reflections. It's like looking through a kaleidoscope. So you can see the background of the trees and everything, but there's all now thousands and thousands of pathways leading in all directions. This weird nexus of crossroads.
Okay.
Yeah. So Genevieve then sits up. It's pulled upright by some force, and we see that her face is like metamorphosed into like this sort of skull motif. It's like I haven't quite decided whether she full on turns into a skull face or whether it's kind of like the impression of a skull is drawn out from around her. Her eyes go deep. Her voice becomes different.
I kind of imagine like almost like a skull tattoo just kind of appears around her face.
Yeah.
Like, you know, like just imagine ink just dripping down your face.
That's sick, man.
Into the shape of a skull. That could be kind of cool.
Okay.
And so this tall figure that seems to sort of coalesce together out of like the fabric of the world. You can't quite get the look of it, but you've got this image that it's a tall human figure wearing a broad-brimmed hat, and there's this impression of a lit cigar hovering in the air, the sense of something very tall, very powerful, and very old. And when it speaks, you see that Genevieve's lips are moving as well. She is communing with this spirit. And she speaks to Papa Legba, one of the lower, the guardian of the gateways. And he's all like, I'm going to try not to do accents because I think it just might not come off that well. He's all...
Now, we always try accents, man. We always try accents.
This is a safe space.
I'll give it a go. He's all like, my child, why have you called upon me at this time? And she responds, my father, there's something strange in this world. Something walks that we don't know where it comes from. It's a danger to people, and we think it's leading to something bigger, and we need to know answers. I have this, and she pulls out the heart in a jar. It's lifted up by this unseen force, this suggestion of long skeletal fingers that are just holding it before this face. You get like the briefest impression of like another skull face just molded out of the environment. He goes, this is something strange, child. There are as many walkways as there are worlds, and there are many worlds. This is not from any of the ones I am familiar with, and I am the guardian of the gateways. But I can tell you where it's come from. I can make it into a sign for you, to lead you to its source. Reaches in, grasps the heart, and then grips it, and it starts beating with this sort of weird ethereal fire, and is lowered back into Genevieve's hand. He said, be careful, my child. I know it is your duty to defend this world from all that is evil, but some evils are not meant to be understood. And then the world closes up once more. Van Helsing for all of this has been like, what? Okay, hold on.
Yo, I just, it's almost like he's just had a big, you know, like he's been smoking something.
Yeah.
And it's like, it all closes up and it's like, whoa, what the heck happened there? Like,
he's like, the heck was that? She's like, well, you said you wanted to find out where it's from. He's like, yeah, that's not my question. I'm glad that, you know, sure, we'll find out whatever this glowing heart in a jar is for now, we'll find out where it's from. But what was that? She's like, that was a lower. That was one of the spirits that guard the walkways into this world. Spirit detective, man. You know, this is my thing. I commune with the spirits. He's like, right. And she's like, yeah, you see, the thing is, you're the weapon of the church. I'm the detective of the church. We have different spheres. And he's like, okay, where are we going? And she reaches and she holds up the heart. It points in a direction, heading to the west. She's like, we're heading west. So they get into the car, start driving. We then get a larger view of America, and they're traveling way across. We have like a little like road trip montage of them just like in the car together, you know, making small talk and everything. We have a nice little interlude scene where they stop at a gas station, and they're filling up the car. Van Helsing gets out and he goes into the gas station stop. He buys up a bunch of like Twinkies and candy bars and stuff like that, and like sort of real classic American junk food, and brings it back to the car and starts eating them. Genevieve is looking at him like she's like, what are you eating that? He's like, yeah. She's like, you can't eat Twinkies. We're on a mission to hunt monsters. He's like, dude, like, I'm immortal. I don't have to worry too much. I don't need to eat. Like, I don't need that to live. I just want to eat what tastes good. And she's like, okay, I'm going to tell you, that stuff does not taste good. Like, you come with me, when after all this is done, we'll have some proper good food. You and me will have a nice meal. I'm going to teach you how to eat, you weird guy. And he's like, okay. No.
Hold on. Are we going to make her like a vegan? Because she's got superpowers, mate.
She's not going to be a vegan.
No?
She can be a vegan if you really want. She's going to make reference, because where we're heading to, the next stage, is New Orleans. So she's from the New Orleans Creole voodoo tradition, which is obviously seafood, gumbo, crawdads.
Yeah. Sorry, there's a running joke that I keep trying to push that, vegans have superpowers, and I totally stole it from Scott Pilgrim.
You did,
but I want it to be a thing. So guys, help me out.
There was a significant glance there, and
over sandbags, and he just absorbed it.
I don't know what you want me to say.
Just agree.
In your next pitch, put a vegan who has superpowers in it, yeah?
My next one is a real life drama, so that's not exactly gonna work.
You could work it in as like a subtext thing that could be read either way. It's like, wow, that vegan guy always seems to be okay. Yeah. He just seems to know what everybody's thinking. Maybe he does. So, they arrive in New Orleans, which seems to be where the heart is leading them. And when they get there, Van Helsing is still in his classic outfit, big hat, big leather coat, he looks like someone out of the 1800s, and they're getting a lot of attention. It's like a whole sort of carnival atmosphere, everyone's sort of like trying to invite people in, and Van Helsing's like, normally when I go to places, no one wants to see me. Like, this is weird, why are they being so welcoming, what's going on? James is like, dude, this is how like a city is, you can't stay in the shadows all the time, you've got to like work with people, right? And he looks at her blankly like, work with people? What are you talking about? If I work with people, they get killed. And she's like, yeah, but you could also get killed. He's like, I'm immortal.
I'm immortal.
Yeah. And she's like, okay, well, at the very least, you look ridiculous in the way that you are now. We need to blend in. We need to, stay in the shadows.
Yeah.
We need to get you some new clothes. So we have a fun little sequence where we get to put Van Helsing in a new outfit. I'm thinking, he's going to end up in, like, a kind of, like, dope pinstripe suit kind of thing, sort of decent-looking coat, not as heavy as his old leather one. And then at the end of it, he's sort of looking, he's like, yeah, okay, I kind of like this. And then she's like, what about the hat? He goes,
I'm keeping it.
Perfect.
That stays.
That stays.
The hat's gangster, man. Come on. Even in New Orleans, I just imagine him, like, looking like top of the morning. Yeah,
so they follow the heart.
Sure is hot, just fanning himself a bit on a rocking chair. Sure is hot today.
I have myself some moonshine. So, night starts to draw in, and they're moving through more isolated, darker parts of the city. Now you've got this glowing heart jar in their hands as they're walking forward, and they come to this old church. It's like, this church has clearly been there a while. There's just like graves everywhere, very extensive graveyard. And no, there is no lights on, but the heart in a jar is drawing them to it. So they go, okay, this must be the place. It's super freaky. This is more Van Helsing's bread and butter. He's like, okay, cool. I'm going to take the lead here. You stay back. I can deal with any kind of monsters in there. You're back up. And she's like, all right, cool. All right, let's go. So they start sneaking in, and they sort of break in through window, real quiet. Moving down, they find there's like a sort of cellar area, and they sort of move down. They've got this an overlooking balcony into like a small chamber. There's an altar in the middle of the chamber. On it, man and woman chained up, wearing just sort of loincloths and like things to preserve decency. And they've got like all these weird like satanic looking symbols like drawn on their bodies, and they're surrounded by people wearing like these tall hoods, like sort of dark purple colors, and it's like all this weird gold jewelry and stuff. Genevieve's like, bunch of dude in hoods. This feels super good for me. And Van Helsing's like, oh, this looks bad. So they're moving forward. They've got these big knives out, and they're like clearly going to sacrifice them. Van Helsing doesn't think twice. He's there to save people. Leaps over the balcony, just starts wrecking dudes up. This is where we get a nice little sequence of showing that Van Helsing is physically superior to conventional humans and everything. So they're like coming at him from behind. He's just like catching their blows and like punch them across. He hits people. They go flying back a bit further than you'd expect, and he's just wrecking house. Genevieve just sort of watching, just like, okay, he's got this. He moves forward. He gets to the two people on the altar, and he like just tears off their ropes. He's like, get out of here! And then suddenly this giant fist, like the size of like his head, just bang!
Boy.
Cracks him in the side of the head, sends him flying across the room.
Boy.
There's this huge dude, like muscles, like unnaturally huge muscles, like in a hood and everything.
Are we using the same kind of trashy CGI?
Where this would be like CGI level big, like he's proper big. So he cracks him across the room, and Van Helsing's like, all right. So he reaches into his coat, doesn't pull out the buzzsaw blades this time, pulls out a different set of gauntlets with like these spikes on them, and he just hits a button, and it's like, he's got like lightning gauntlets, because I want to upgrade his tech, right?
Yeah, you have to.
I thought you were going to say blades.
Oh, no.
Come out. That's been done already.
That's a little too on the nose. As the blades come out.
Lightning blades are cool, though.
Yeah, little lightning fists. And so he's moving in. He's like fighting this guy. He's having to like dodge a lot. And the guy's just not feeling it. He's like... And he's not having any effect. He smacks him again. Van Helsing sent flying this time. Crashes back up onto the balcony where Genevieve is. She's like... You doing all right? He's like, I would like some backup, please. Okay? And she's like, okay, cool. Give me a sec. So Van Helsing jumps back off, jumps onto the guy's head, and he's like trying to wrestle him down. And the guy's like, going crazy. Genevieve clasps her hands together, bites her thumb once more. It gets a little bit of blood. The mask drip starts to come down. The skull comes back up. Suddenly from the ground, just zombie hand. Zombies. Because it's built on a burial ground, there's loads of zombies just start bursting out the ground. Going towards the big guy, like grabbing onto him. He doesn't care. He's just smacking them away. No problem, like tearing them apart. And Van Helsing's like, this isn't helping. Like it's having no effect. And she's like, all right. Can you get him over here? He's like, okay. Jumps off the guy's head, kicks off the wall, shoulder checks him. The guy stumbles back. He's directly under where Genevieve is. So this whole bunch of zombies just clamber together and they form into this giant human ball. They're just like all gripping onto one another. And then they just...
on top of it.
On top of him. The guy's like... Van Helsing draws one of his larger knives and just goes in and just knifes him right in the throat and just... Blood that comes out. Slightly weird colour. It's not quite red, but it's this more sort of like burgundy purple colour. It's very strange. So, Genevieve comes down and she goes, well, it looks like we didn't leave anyone alive to question. Van Helsing just looks at her and they just go, they both laugh. She's like, it's cool, I've got this. He's like, I thought you did. Okay, cool, that was my thought. She's like, yeah, okay. So they go up to the guy in the most decorated robe. She reaches down, touches his face, and she's like, come on back now. And he's just... And for a moment, he's like not quite human, not quite animated, but it's like his body is being moved by his spirit. It's like it's not natural. He's just like, why have you brought me back? I was free. She's like, you got some questions to answer. What are you guys doing? Where is he? He's like, I know not who you mean. And she's like, you know exactly who we mean. Van Helsing's like, tell me, and like punches the corpse. And the guy's all like, you seek the Dark One, the one that will bring about the end of this world. I will never tell. And she's like, you will tell. And you see this, all the veins in the corpse just start to like expand and just like, he goes, there is a village to the north on the cliff tops of Louisiana. There he waits. She says, go on. And just... And he's gone. And I'm out, just get a cup of water.
I just imagine, like, at that point, his kind of body, his corpse kind of crumbling.
Yeah.
Like, just like pieces of it tearing off and just almost ashing up.
Crumbling away into dust.
Yeah, this is getting deep. It's kind of scaring me, I'm not going to lie. Like.
We're trying for a little sort of horror feel, you know. It's going to be sort of kind of fun. Like, you know, you've got a little bit of the witty banter. You've got sort of like the sort of slight... The fight scenes are real. Like, you know, you're going to have these quite sort of violent sequences. But it's sort of done from a position of like, oh, this is kind of like fun violence. In the same way that Van Helsing has like... The original has quite a high body count. We see like a large number of villagers just get carried away and eaten by vampires. It's
I'm surprised that not all of the villagers are dead by the end of it.
Yeah. I mean, you're kind of at the moment. So what we got? We got Antichrist suggested. We've got the devil suggested. You're bringing it into modern age with zombies.
Yes.
I was just like, hold on, wait a minute. That's like nowadays zombies are like the thing, right? That's the Frankenstein was then. Yeah. Zombies are now.
Zombies are truly the Frankenstein of our time.
Mate. That's okay, cool. I'm trying to think, okay, what other things is he going to bring into it? And like, if he's now got divination and stuff, like, you got the ring and, you know, all of that
well,
sort of
I don't think VHS has been invented by the 50s yet. So we're okay for that.
That's something to put on the back burner. Van Helsing versus the ring. So, they head out from the church, get back into the car, drive on. Like, it's dead of night. They're still moving on, and they're getting closer to this place that was mentioned to them, this specific village on a cliff top. So they get there, and it's misty. Like the moon's come out. The moon is looking a little like tinged with yellow, almost suggesting like it might be a blood moon this evening. And so the mist is rolling in. And they walk through this village and there's no one there. It's all quiet. This is weird. This is very weird. I feel something strange, says Van Helsing. James like, oh yeah? He's like, yeah, I can... It's similar to what left the mark on me. It's similar to him, but I can't quite place it. She's like, well, follow your instincts, man. Like, you're a hunter. Hunt. He's like, okay. So he's focusing around, they're sort of moving through these really sinister, tiny, winding passageways. Mist everywhere. They keep seeing shapes that look kind of like people, but they get there and it's just like, shapes on the wall. They get drawn to the edge of the village over to where the cliffs are. And there's the sea. It's getting a bit rough out there, and then suddenly the water just starts to bubble and boil. And this enormous thing just rises out of the ocean. 7 heads bursting forth. You have Van Helsing going, the 7-headed beast.
Oh my days.
As foretold in the Bible. What? What the 7-headed beast? This is the end of the world. What is happening? And Jennifer's like, okay, here's the plan. Let's kill that thing. And he's all like, yeah, we should definitely try and kill that thing because that thing's meant to bring about the end of the world. What? Okay. So Genevieve's like, okay, let's go. She just grabs him and they both jump off the cliff towards the water. She invokes another one of the lower, specifically Mami Wata, who's the one that deals with water powers. So they're now standing on the surface of the ocean. The ocean's getting wild right now. There's like big waves and they're just like running around, jumping from crest to crest, like moving forward, like kind of like Naruto style, huh? Yeah. So you have this another sort of elaborate fight scene where they're sort of running around, like trying to attack this monster. Van Helsing's like using his buzzsaw blades, like, but this thing's huge. He's barely making a dent. Genevieve tries to summon like a bunch of like zombie sharks and stuff, but again, they just get smashed up. They're having no luck at all.
Zombie sharks?
Zombie sharks.
Just like coming out like torpedoes.
Yeah.
From the water.
Like biting in and then it just smashes them off again. I like me a bit of spectacle, I do.
Have you seen, what is it, Shark Tornadoes or something?
Oh, Sharknado.
Sharknado.
Yeah, what's Sharknado? Sharks flying out from everywhere. But it is to no avail.
Oh my days.
So this giant mouth just eats Van Helsing.
Oh, it's not.
And Genevieve's like, oh no. So she's having to like run away, trying to figure out what to do, trying to think, okay, I've just lost the greatest weapon the church has, and it's just me out here. This is bad. And then she hears this
yeah.
And out of the throat of one of the heads is just this and Van Helsing's like, no! Oh God! Oh, it smells so bad! Falls out, just like gets towards, just like splashing himself, like, oh! She's like, are you okay? He's like, no, I wish I wasn't immortal. That was horrible. And she's like, okay, I think I've got it. So she calls in another one of those. She's burning power now, so you can see it starting to take a toll. She's like, I've got like maybe one shot left in me, man. He's like, okay, make it good. She calls in Papa Shango, the lower of the storms, and this enormous lightning bolt blasts the bay, and this 7-headed beast like screams and then rears back into the water. And they sort of sit there on the water for a second as everything calms down, and the storm is still like kind of kicking up overhead, but they're like, did we do it? Did we save the world? And Van's like, I don't know. And then they hear this and they turn. Walking towards them on the water is this dark figure. I'm thinking this guy's going to be
on the water.
Walking on the water.
Oh, mate, that's scary, bruv.
Parallels of Jesus walking on the water.
Scary, bruv.
So you have this dude, this dark figure, who I'm thinking is going to be sort of like some kind of sinister British actor. Your Tom Hiddlestons, your evil Jude Laws.
It makes sense that he's
Peter
British.
Serafinowicz.
Oh, maybe. Oh, that could actually... He's got the voice, Peter Serafinowicz.
I mean, it's interesting. This is all happening in America, right?
Yeah.
And, like, America is kind of like... I don't know. If you think about the age, the different ages, the big empires that you have, so you had Babylon, you had Egypt, you had Babylon, you had Rome, you had the British Empire, you have America. It's kind of... Hey, you're playing with fire, bruh. Yeah. You're playing with fire.
The big kingdoms, yeah. So, Van Helsing is all like, time for my revenge. You've all but destroyed me, but I get to stop you from destroying the world. And we'll go with Peter Serafinowicz. And Peter Serafinowicz is all like, you fool. You've not stopped anything. And you certainly haven't stopped me. Van Helsing is like, ah! Whips out a crucifix, his big metal crucifix, whips out his gun and just charges the guy. And like blasting at him, and the bullets are just sliding off his body. There's just like this weird thing. You just have this slow motion shot where you see the bullet goes to hit his body, and then it just sort of twists and zips away. He gets closer and he tries to bludgeon him with this like big metal crucifix, and he's just like catches it and just throws it away. No interest in it whatsoever.
You could have a parallel to the last film.
Oh yeah, when he grabs it,
and it burns, and then he chucks it away.
Yeah. So there we go. Yeah, and he says, "You're a fool, Van Helsing. I warned you last time we met that I would not be so merciful, that I would not save you. I warned you to stay out of my way, and yet you have come back. I have ruined you. I have reached into your soul and torn away that which makes you eternal, and yet still you fight. Why?" And Van Helsing goes, "I fight evil. It's what I do. It's what I was made for." Peter Serafinowicz goes, "Evil. Such a limited concept. You know nothing, Van Helsing." And then he raises his hands and throws them up wide, and the storm twists and the sea twists, and the world seems to once again kaleidoscope, warping together in this meld, and everything goes, and they fall into the ocean, and they're trying to swim, the two of them, and they're just drowning up, and it's just we cut to black. We awake, and they're on this infinite field of water. And above them are the stars. And it's just they're not anywhere in reality anymore. And they can see weird, strange geometric shapes and all this weird stuff. And they're like, what? And they look over, and Peter Serafinowicz is sat there on a rock just watching them with this view of someone who is looking at bugs. He doesn't consider them a threat. And he says to them, he goes, "Soon I will awaken my brethren. Consume your world." And Van Helsing's like, "Brethren? There's nothing in the Bible about you awakening any... What are you talking about? You're the Antichrist. You're the end of the world." And he goes, "Again, such limited ideas, Van Helsing. You cling to a 2,000-year-old book, a book that is younger than yourself. I am from a time far beyond such things. I am eternal. I was there when the stars were first forged out of the firmament of this reality. I stood alongside the gods as they made this world. And now I will tear it apart." Genevieve is like, "Okay, where are we? This is weird." She says to him, we're not on Earth. We have been pulled out into the many worlds. We're somewhere beyond the gateways. I can't feel my powers. I can't feel the lower. I don't know where we are. I need time. I need to try and find out what's happening. And Van Helsing's like, "You do what you've got to do. I'm a hunter. I'm going to hunt." So he gets up once more. He's all battered up. His clothes are wrecked, his nice suit. He's still got his hat, just.
Yeah, of course.
Of course he's still got the hat. And he pulls out a knife, and he just sort of advances on Peter Serafinowicz. He just laughs at him. He's like, "Are you going to fight me, as you tried before?" And Van Helsing goes, "Of course. That's what I do." So he starts trying to fight him, and Peter Serafinowicz is just, every time he swings, the knife just won't hit him. It won't bend through space to get him. And he just keeps occasionally just smacking him away with no effort, sending him flying. And Genevieve is just mentally trying to do all these things. She's pulling out artifacts from all kinds of things, trying to gather what little fragments of power she has left to try and find out where they are, to try and find out how she can help. So, there we go.
She's it's like she's not really made for the battlefield type of thing. So it's almost she's out of her depth.
She's a support character. That's the. She's the way if you were to think of it in terms of video games, Van Helsing's the tank. She's the mage. She can do big stuff, but she needs time. She needs to have all her resources in line. She needs to be able to call down the big stuff. So Van Helsing is getting 7 bells knocked out of him, and he's this broken, just bleeding everything. And Peter Serafinowicz just walks over and picks him up by 2 fingers, like Dracula did. We saw at the start of the previous film, and he just goes, "The saddest part of all this is you don't even remember why you're doing this. You don't remember me. You don't remember the time before this world. You're going to go into the darkness, failing in your mission, and not even understanding why. So as he hangs there, the camera pans up into Van Helsing's eye, and we just see the cut back to the battles that we saw before. We see them going back in time. So we go from him being in World War II, World War I, back in all these different battles, going back in time. We get to the era of the Romans, and we go back further. We go back to sort of pre-civilization, and we see Van Helsing just sort of standing over watching as we see proto-humans coming together. And we go back, and it just comes to this bright white light. Pans back out of his eyes, and you see his eyes are glowing slightly. And he just goes, I remember. Out of his back, burning wings just... Because in the first film, they do allude to the fact that Van Helsing is the right hand of God, Gabriel. And these enormous wings burst forth. And in his hand, this burning sword just bursts out as well. And he swings at Peter Serafinowicz, and for the first time, cuts him on the cheek, mirroring the wound that he's got. And Peter Serafinowicz is like, no, it's impossible. I took that part of you from you. Van Helsing, who's now we're going to do the CGI de-aging, he looks revitalized. He looks powerful. He's buff as hell. He's got this light heavenly glow about him. He's like, you could never take away what I truly am. So they go back at it again. They have this fight at the two of them, Peter Serafinowicz using dark mirrors to Van Helsing's burning arsenal, and they're evenly matched. They're swinging each other, and he just goes, is this what it will be, Gabriel? You and I battling for all eternity in this barren place? Is that really the ending that you want? And Van Helsing goes, if it were just me, that would be it, and that would be fine. But as such, I'm not actually alone. And Peter Serafinowicz goes, what? He goes, you really know nothing. And he looks behind him, and he sees that Genevieve has now got the skull on her face. She's managed to get enough time. She's managed to figure out where they are. And behind her, the world splits open once more, and we see the familiar gateways. And we see the giant hands of Papa Legba reaching out to take it. Van Helsing kicks the Peter Serafinowicz away and flies back into the hands of the lower. And he says, we're going to leave you here. I think you need some time to think. And Peter Serafinowicz is like, no, it's impossible. You cannot trap me here forever. I will return. I will see your world burn. And Van Helsing goes, and I'll be waiting to stop you. The doors close again. He's left in the darkness with the stars and just screams at his loneliness. They pull back.
Yeah, I was going to say, it ain't finishing yet.
No, that's not there. That's not. We got the little tied up bit. We pull back, and they land back in the real world. Van Helsing's wings just flicker and then blow away like cinders in the wind. And Genevieve's like, so, you remember everything? Famously, you don't remember anything. He's like, I remember everything. She's like, okay, we should have a chat about what you know, because if what I heard was correct, you've been around a lot longer than we thought. He's like, yeah, I believe you mentioned something about dinner. She's like, yeah, okay. So he takes hold of her, and they just, in this burst of flame, fly away. Our final shot. So we have this slow pan away of the two of them just sat in a restaurant together, eating good food together, having a good meal, having a few drinks. And we have this voiceover of Hugh Jackman saying, people say that I know too much. Perhaps that is true. But I will bear this knowledge for the good of humanity. And whatever comes, from the stars, from the darkness, even from the light itself, I will be here to protect humanity, and I will never stop fighting. Credits. And that was Van Helsing 2, Dweller in the Dark.
Dweller in the freaking dark.
Yes.
Yo!
I did not see that twist coming.
Yeah?
I'm glad that you didn't tell me it in advance.
Well, which twist?
Yeah,
There's
which
technically
one?
two, because the angel reveal, that's actually in the first film. That's common knowledge going in, but it's never properly
canon.
Confirmed.
That's canon.
Okay.
The secret twist is that while it may have seemed that I was pulling from Judeo-Christian iconography, that was not the Antichrist.
No, it wasn't.
That was not.
It wasn't.
I decided that for my fun thing, the basic message of it was I wanted to have Van Helsing versus the Cthulhu mythos. So, Peter Serafinowicz, or the Antichrist...
Educate me now, please.
There is a character from H.P. Lovecraft's work called Nyarlathotep, who is like this mysterious trickster god who takes on many forms to actively bring about the destruction of humanity. So the weird seven-headed monster is like a Cthulhu beast rising out of the sea to try and consume humanity. So they did save the world on that front. And his whole thing is he wants to deliver the world into ruin by manipulating human forces and human religions and human ideals. So I'd be pulling a lot more from like that visually. It would be a lot less subtle with like a visual medium because you'd be like, well, that's like a bunch of tentacles. What's going on there? But yeah, that's the idea. So it's like satanic cult, Cthulhu cult. They're both kind of like similar things because they're both about the end of the world.
The kind of parallels and all of that sort of stuff. I guess there's a lot to play with. Deebs used to say this all the time. He used to say, if you're ever gonna like tell a story, just jack stuff out of the Bible. And I was like, I used to always feel subtly offended by it. But like, it's like there's so much stuff when it comes to like different religions and different cultures and stuff. I guess that's kind of what a lot of the good storytellers kind of do. And I guess considering so many world religions, so many people kind of gravitate towards for one reason or another. Whole civilizations are built around them. Whole kind of, calendars, like a whole bunch of ways that people think are, kind of guided by different religions. Telling a story in those kind of, guidelines kind of works really, really well. I think that's kind of why the whole using crosses as well. You got Constantine as well, but then like just look at the scope there is for all these other
like if you
cultures.
This is why I liked about being able to dip into voodoo, because I think it is a really interesting set of beliefs, because it's a very different kind of relationship to your more kind of like, you have the god who like created stuff and tells you what to do, whereas with like Loa in voodoo, it's more about you commune with them and they can reveal truths to you and they look after humans, but they're also like, they've kind of got their own stuff going on. They're not necessarily interested, and you can sort of ask them for favors, and it's a much more kind of like transactional based aspect to religion, which I find interesting. And like the iconography of it is super fun and super cool, like, skulls and Day of the Dead and that kind of stuff, and like getting into that whole kind of thing of just having like little effigies and jujus and stuff like that.
Okay, so how are you gonna like, that's actually, no, it links with the Van Helsing kind of, law, in the sense that the church, the Vatican, the Rome, isn't just technically like Christian. It's all these other things which they've got from so many different places. And I guess you've kind of played with that same kind of theme. I'm like,
Genevieve is meant to be like one of their agents, and they have agents everywhere in all different walks of life, all different skill sets.
I'll be honest. I thought you were going to go longer. So at point of them fighting this big seven-headed thing, that seemed like halfway, not even half, that seemed like a third in, because I feel like there's even more things that you could have added in there and all sorts. Not in a bad way, but
I'm glad that you felt like you could have had more. That's good.
Just kind of the kind of nature of it. Like, they've just done America, right? There's other parts of the world.
You want to have like a more globe-trotting kind of adventure.
I don't know. I like the American road trip. Aspect of it.
That's what I wanted to have, like this idea of this them I want to have like sequences of just like them in a car, like having the kind of odd conversations that two people who work in the same industry but don't really work together that much, and have got like completely different experiences. Sort of, I would love to. I didn't get into it in like my actual pitch because I was sort of like getting down to like, okay, I need to figure out specific story beats because that's more what I'm doing. But I would love to have a sequence of them trying to do sort of like shop talk. Of her be like, so you killed Dracula, and he'd be like, yeah, weird dude. That kind of like. She's like, oh, okay. How did that? What happened there?
I guess what I mean, like, kind of longer, is because you want more time to develop that relationship.
Yes.
But then also, too, you want more time to develop the law, because you're introducing a whole new sort of set of rules.
Yeah.
Because we've been watching Van Helsing, thinking of the sort of Christian, Judaism kind of law, Western Christian and Judaism law. Like, now it's like your opportunity to introduce all these other things. And you kind of started that with... I guess, what's her name? Genevieve, with introducing her, but then are there more like her? Two, are there books that, you could introduce or or laws that you could introduce throughout the story to, because when you brought up the beast,
Yeah.
like that's like okay, so technically now we're still in the Christian religion. How are you going to create that link and let people know that this is sort of something else? And actually, when you mentioned he's not the Antichrist, his brothers are coming, right?
Yeah, his brethren.
His brethren. I thought two things. I thought, one, you were going to go into different worlds, open that whole idea up of different worlds coming in, yeah. And then two, I thought another part of me was like, here's been a great opportunity to bring the whole Four Swordsmen, the apocalypse thing.
Yeah.
So that's what it made me think, because I'm still in that mindset. I'm still in the mindset of the apocalypse from the Bible.
Yeah.
So those are kind of things that you got to kind of bear in mind, like how it's leading us to think in this way or that.
I think the thing was, my view was that I wanted to try and remain ambiguous enough so I could get away with the Cthulhu things, because like the Nyala Hotep and Antichrist parallels are super easy, because they serve a similar function. They're great deceivers, they're meant to lead humanity to ruin, all that kind of stuff, and so it's very easy to just substitute one for another, and you have great beast rising out of the sea, that's Cthulhu, versus the seven-headed monster from Revelation. When you get into the more sort of like the Four Horsemen, like my H.P. Lovecraft is a bit rusty. I had to do a lot of like research.
I hear you.
But I know what you mean. It's definitely a fun thing, and I like the idea of having the option of saying like, oh yeah, there are other worlds beyond this one. So maybe if I did another Van Helsing 3, we could have like, breaking into other continuities.
You're opening up the idea that there are all these other things. It's cool, man. I kind of like it. It was very visual, and you told the story really well, I've got to say.
Thank you.
I could tell you do this for a living. I could tell you that, unlike me, I'm like, and then he walks into a bar. And
the bar is mahogany. It's a dark brown mahogany, and when you look at it, you use a lot of detail.
Yeah, I try.
So much detail.
I try. It's funny because I feel like I don't say enough.
When it comes to the plot, maybe. You just need to work out that balance.
Yeah. I'll have to listen over to this one again. To be honest, our last two guests have been quite good on this whole kind of
this is two guests in a row.
Hey,
the
grand tradition.
Nah, Nick, you were good at this. We have to have you on again. I think we'll have to have you on again.
I have to come up with a whole new pitch again. Oh no!
Yeah, you have time. You don't have to do this every week like we do.
Maybe DB will actually be there next time.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
I mean, this is season 3 and he's been on once so far.
Mate.
That absence of Deeb.
I hope you're listening, DB.
If he's made it this far, I appreciate it.
Exactly. No, actually, Nick was at our live show.
He was at the live show.
Yeah,
that was really fun.
It was a lot of fun. It was fun having you there. Real talk. It was actually because it was like, sometimes when you get that crowd feedback, and you guys probably didn't hear it, but this guy was laughing loud.
When I was listening back and editing it, basically, you're the only person in the audience I can hear on a regular basis.
I have been noted as having a somewhat loud laugh. That's true.
But it's good. It's good because I felt like, here's somebody who actually listens to podcasts and gets the whole sort of, how we communicate with each other and how we hope people are listening and so forth. So
it was a really good way for me to actually come into like Broken Elevator, because I literally, Adib said to me, he's like, oh yeah, we're recording a live version of our podcast. I was like, oh okay, cool, I didn't know you did a podcast, great. And I came along, and the premise of it and seeing you guys do it and sort of the interaction and the play on it, it's like, and also the fact that like Santo versus, oh my god, I was like, wait, hold on now, it's a Mexican wrestling pseudo-political satire
3 people fight. in the audience who knew who Santo was.
I said there was quite a few.
It's more than I would have expected. I was just like, Blue Demon Jr.
Nah, it was great.
Oh, I loved it. It was so much fun.
No, it was really good. We'll do another one of those soon.
Hopefully.
Yeah, hopefully. Don't say hopefully, say definitely.
I will
when we have the time. Well, if you liked Nick's pitch, maybe you want to give your opinion, maybe you want to give some suggestions for for Van Helsing 3. Ooh. Maybe he teams up with a Scientologist in the 80s.
Ooh.
I can tell you've been sitting on that. That was such like I'm just going to drop this in here.
Tick.
Yo.
Hold on, does that mean there's going to be aliens in the next one?
Dude.
May.
Cthulhu is basically aliens.
Yeah,
like
I was
Star
it
gods
gets
and
all,
stuff.
yeah, New Age. You could add some Stargates in that, like, you know, like some Egyptian stuff in there. Like, come on.
Traveling through the multiverse with Scientology.
Yeah, but you know what, though? Like, Van Helsing's a white guy, like, so it's going to be one of those things where you're going to have to start introducing other Van Helsings.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
From other kind of backgrounds.
Of course.
Jeez.
Oh, that would be sick.
Get me my Nigerian one. Tell you a couple things about Juju there, then.
Well, if you want to get in contact with us, you can email us at brokenelevatorpod@gmail.com. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter at brokenepod. You can find me on Twitter at TamTheMan. You can find Wumi at Wumzum.
Wumzum, yep.
Nick, where can we find you?
Oh, crikey. I don't have Twitter or Instagram or anything, really. I suppose the best place to direct people... Oh, I need to clean up my social media. This is terrible. So I recently started a new podcast called Hurd You Saw, where me and other friends watch terrible movies, get drunk, and then podcast about them. It's generally us being really depressed. It's quite good fun. We've done one episode so far, with the second one due to come out hopefully next week. You can find that. We're going to be putting it on SoundCloud if you search for Hurd You Saw. That's HURDYASAW. Or you can find films that I have made and podcasts I have done at Elephant Pictures Ltd on YouTube. Beyond that, yeah, I don't know. Find me. I'm around.
He's a bat. He's there.
I am on Tumblr at my Tumblr is andthusliberated.tumblr.com.
On Tumblr, yeah?
On Tumblr, yeah.
Listen, Tumblr's chaos.
It is. I stay away from the chaotic bits. I'm just there to follow a bunch of animators and stuff. That's all.
Yeah, it's great. No, it's great for animators.
Yeah.
Sorry, I had to give this guy a high five. High five. We had a little geek session before this about Avatar.
Oh boy, did we.
Oh my
Not
days.
just Avatar, we talked about a lot of things.
It was a lot, man.
What did we started off on? We started off on Heroes.
Yeah, we
ended up on video games. We went through Avatar.
We went through Journey. He's a cool guy, you know. He's alright.
It's been a real meeting of kindred spirits, I swear.
He's cool, man. He's alright.
Seriously, while I was setting up all this equipment, there was just a moment where, like, lights were coming out of their eyes and just meeting in the middle. It was just like I couldn't even understand what they were talking about. It was zoom, zoom, zoom.
It was just every so often you heard us go, oh my god! I'll tell you what, next time we could just have a big old geek session about wrestling if you want.
Yeah. I recently rewatched Santa and Blue Demon versus Dracula and the Wolfman. Wait, is it Dracula and the Wolfman, or is there a third one?
It was Dracula and the Wolfman.
Yeah. We had a screening of it where someone managed to get like this HD versions of it, the highest quality ever screened in the UK.
Hold on, that was remake exploitation, right?
Yeah, so that was a remastered version of Santo Blue Demon versus Dracula and the Wolfman and Mexican Batwoman. HD remastered, big screen. It was amazing. Everyone there loved it.
The world is truly a mysterious place.
All right, I'd say that is it for this week. So we will see you next week.
Great.
Thanks for having me on, fellas. It's been real fun.
Thank you for joining us.
Cool.